So about a week ago, I was telling you guys how I think that nerfed Yoru really isn't that bad, and that a lot of tier 1 teams are falling into this mindset of, oh, nerfed Yoru is so bad, he got destroyed, only has one flash, and we shouldn't play him anymore. Well, I don't think that's true. I think that Yoru went from being the strongest agent in Valorant history to good, strong. And I think that teams completely abandoning him was a mistake. So when I saw that Nongshim were playing him both on Split and Haven, I was ecstatic. I was like, dude, finally. You know, Nongshim were having some role issues. They were putting Francis on Breach. They swapped Dambi and Francis for Neon, and I think Dambi was playing like Phoenix or something. And Francis just looked really uncomfortable ever since he's gotten off the Yoru. So when I saw that he went back, I was like, dude, this is awesome. Finally, he's going to prove to the world that Yoru isn't bad. He's not a horrible agent. And he proved the opposite. So all throughout this game, you're going to notice Francis absolutely botch Yoru's entire kit, and he does this for most of this series. So starting on pistol round, Nongshim's plan is to fight mid as 4, and you're going to see them walk down in a second. Now, watch Francis during this whole play, and you guys tell me what you think he did wrong.
Look, the fans get what they want. They get Dambi back on the Neon, you know?
Now we'll see if they really wanted it after all, but haunt out, nothing going to be seen. 4-player push up in the garage, and similar scenes here at 4KRX. Long tucked into sewers, Dambi creeping closer. Shot's going to be opening up here as Long going to be swinging out. He's looking for Francis, but Francis will be able to find one. Dambi getting another. And Paint Shell at his feet. Not quite going to be able to claim the kill. Freeing will do that, but RP finds him minute to boot. Kind of spam out. Paint Shell is going to be chucked in here. And Spike does get recovered. Meanwhile, Mako...
So maybe you guys can tell me, when exactly did he want to use any of his kit? His flash, his TP? He doesn't use any of this. Francis walks down mid, and if you're going to be making this ballsy of a play, why not throw your gate crash out instantly so you can get early info, so you can, if your team does take contact, you can TP out, right? He doesn't use the TP. Let's say he did throw it at the beginning of the round, it would expire, right? Whatever. But right here, he fights somebody sewer, gets a kill, his team's fighting into market. Why not bounce your flash? The entire enemy team is looking at Neon bouncing around, and your teammates are about to swing. Why not bounce a flash? Why not use any of this? We just went the entirety of pistol round without using any utility. Just buy a sheriff, or better yet, just play chamber. So they end up losing that round, and I just want to point something out that it's a little weird. So Nongshim decide to stack mid again, and notice how at the start of this round, Francis actually uses his gate crash. Notice it floating through spawn as he makes the same exact push that he made last round. So why not do it last round? Now, I'm not saying that every round his Yoru looked horrible. It's just that, you know, it was most of the time. Like here, the offense want to go B. They have a 3-person default to take B main. And we have our protagonist defending the line. He throws out his gate crash early. He's playing on this, you know, nice off angle, takes a few shots, he whiffs, whatever it happens. He waits for his gate crash to expire or bait out more util before taking it. He takes it. Whatever. Fine and dandy, right? Now I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. The offense decides to leave B main. They go towards mid. Nothing really happens. Dambi ends up killing a lurker on ramp. So the offense are going to split B. They have 3 mid, 1 B main. The offense are going to walk up B main. Dambi ends up killing the lurker on A, so the offense are committed to this B split. And we see that Francis's gate crash has expired. That's fine. He's used it. But here's where I have an issue. All right, so he backs off. He uses his clone to try and bait out the Raze ulti in case she looks hell. She'll see the Yoru, probably shoot it at the clone, hopefully, and he doesn't shoot him. But notice how when Francis backs up towards site, he's going to be staring at heaven this entire time, despite him not being able to see a whole lot up here. And you're going to notice that Fade and Neon are both going to swing this, right? They're both going to peek, right? But if Yoru was holding this angle for most of the time, I mean, maybe this is getting a little nitpicky, but don't you agree that this would be a good time to use your flash? So your team doesn't have to just dry swing out or after? I mean, right? Instead of you're just holding nothing while our Omen's holding the main choke, right? And obviously he gets the trade, or he helps Omen kill this person. But like before that, if your team wants to peek, why not say I'm flashing, flash, and then boom, pop. Then they both swing. Don't you think that would help? Yeah, they end up winning the round, but just because you win the round, that doesn't mean you made the right play. And now, thankfully for Nongshim, KRX decided not to run a Viper, and the good thing about Viper is that she'll lay out her walls usually like this. If you look at A, she can pop her smokes up and down, and create a billion timings up ramp, which is why Dambi probably got that lurk kill earlier, because holding for lurks against a non-Viper comp is a lot easier. But I think if we're not expecting them to use lurk smokes, I think this setup is a little more okay. But if we are expecting them to maybe like use our Astra smokes to default up ramp, I do think we need to swap our Fade and our Viper, because Fade can help Yoru get posted up on the A main line a lot better than a Viper can, and you're going to see that this round. So before the buy phase starts, we send out our gate crash, and our Yoru just stands around in heaven. Like, it doesn't really do a whole lot. Well, it looks like Fade's job, you just saw C's there a second ago, is to like stall mid, or like I guess play info mid. But wouldn't you rather have your Yoru get set up while his gate crash is burning alive, right? And try to find some form of early game or early information? I mean, if he's just playing, he's not really playing like a Yoru, right? He's not really using his teleports. He's kind of just like jiggling out like anyone would, like a Raze would, or a Jet would, or any other agent, really, a KO, anything, I don't know. And the offense ended up taking A, right? So like, that's not like the huge problem I have with this round. It's just a little side note, but the offense takes site, you know, Francis is in heaven, and notice he throws out his clone. And then obviously we don't have a replay system for pro games, but he also burned his flash, right? Like, look at the minimap. He throws out the decoy, and then look at his utility bar. He flashes for it, and it gets shot, right? So what was that for? We're not coming out of heaven. Our team's not ready to follow up off it. We're all like in spawn, you know, vibing out. So I don't know. Now watch this retake and ask yourself, would a flash have been useful here?
Flank. We'll start inching forward now. Dombey, in the meantime, trying to get that slide forward into backside, but Bane has him dead to rights. X-Ross stuck here into the corner now, opening up a couple shots. Can't quite clear out Hyunmin. It's down low. RB looking for that second, unable to connect with it as Paint Shell gonna be lobbed in, and Francis now in a 1vx.
So if you couldn't figure out when a flash would have been nice, it'd been right here, right before our Neon slides out of the wall and gets duked on. Don't you think a flash would have been nice to shake these guys' crosshairs so, you know, he doesn't get shot? So this round kind of confirms my theory of what I said about the lurk smokes. I think that Nongshim didn't expect KRX to use their Astra smokes to lurk. So now they've dragged over their Fade to help Yoru get set up on the line. The only issue, though, is that he's throwing out his gate crash way before the round even starts, and he has an op, right? So if you're playing in like a chamber-esque role where you want to like play up on A, get early info, take a shot, and TP out, you don't need to teleport across the map like this. Here, I'll try to show you guys before the buy phase. 3 seconds left. At 3 seconds left, that's when he decides to throw his gate crash. And the issue I have with this is that your job is to, in this setup, is to peek A main and get early info. So I think that you should be min-maxing every second you have so that at 0-0, he should be throwing it out now. And it doesn't need to go to the other side of the map. It just needs to go like spawn or like screens, or like even in the hell is like okay if somebody bought him a shorty, right, or something. And now he doesn't get bit in the butt for this, and I do want to show a little bit of good, because the haunt allows Francis to, despite this pullback star, push up. And keep in the back of your mind, let's say for example he had an extra 3 seconds of this gate crash. Would it have made a difference? Yeah, I guess not, but I do think having every second of your gate crash active does a lot for you as a Yoru, right? So he ends up getting a kill, which is nice, and he ends up getting another kill. He ends up peeking, kills the Jet, 5v3. So Francis won his team this round, but I do think that his Yoru could be a little more refined. And now this round is a good round for Francis. He actually, again, wins his team the round. Spoiler alert. But I want to reinforce that point I made earlier in the intro of why not just put Francis on chamber? Because he still doesn't look comfy using Yoru's utility, right? He doesn't really flash. He only has one, and his gate crashes just don't look that great. Now, imagine for a second that this guy's on chamber, right? So we have the same game plan here. We throw our gate crash a little early. It's fine, whatever, I guess. The offense smoke Yoru deeper, knowing that he's peeking. The offense don't shoot the haunt. He teleports out. Right, so he repositions into heaven after the TP. He's going to peek ramp. Again, pretend he's playing chamber. Shoots one. He has a full kit, by the way. A full kit. He peeks again. He's holding ramp for the rest of the round. And he has full utility. Why not throw out a second gate crash for the reposition? Right? Like, if you're going to re-peek ramp again, why not throw out a... You know, why not throw out your second gate crash? Why not throw your flash at the start of the round for... that haunt, right? Like that haunt is going off. Why not flash for the haunt? So then you can like safely peek out of the smoke. I think that Nongshim got a little lucky that KRX didn't shoot it. So KRX are going to take a timeout and try to talk about how they're going to counter this Yoru, right? But lucky for them, they don't need to worry because the Yoru is going to take care of itself. Because right now, this is where the Yoru gets really bad. And if you're playing against a Yoru, I do think that the way to counter a Yoru before was to play a little slower so that they can burn their gate crashes and then they have no more teleports, right? So it's harder for them to TP across the map. And now I think that counter of playing at a slower tempo is even truer than ever before right now because these gate crashes don't last very long. So coming out of the timeout, the offense are going to pressure B a ton while we have two people waiting outside of A, embracing this Yoru with their loving arms. So I'm going to hit play, and you're going to see the round starts. The offense use a bunch of utility. We got a one-way, we got a boom bot, we got a sky flash, we got a whole bunch of stuff. And Francis is going to go on a deep walk down A main.
Copper wire, some stuff to heat up water.
It's called fire. Great.
Dude, we're not playing chamber. This is Yoru. Your TPs don't last that long. So it's like, what are we doing? I have to ask, right? I mean, not even chamber can make a play like this against an eco, keep in mind. An eco. And that just loses so much map control for Nongshim. Then they over-rotate. Then Viper walks down sewer against an eco, keep in mind. And then that's a Vandals. Now the offense have an op and a Vandal to play with. And then if they take site, it's just retaking against an op is impossible, especially because you don't have any flashes anymore because your flashes entered down a main. And I just want to reiterate, not every round was horrible. This round I think was pretty good. So Nongshim noticed that KRX are kind of like holding pretty far back and Yoru's not going to find as much value. And back in the bind video that I made, I talked about how Yoru can't really be this person that holds an entire side of the map for his team anymore. He can't do that. His gate crashes don't last as long unless you're like min-maxing Yoru to his greatest, but even then I don't think he can be the person to hold a ton of map control for your team. That's basically Chamber's job and Vito's job now. So the defense's plan here is to send Neon all the way through, who can abuse her speed, and when Dambi has his ult, he can kind of just go nuts, right, and go super crazy because he's a ton of speed, an extra slide, a whole bunch of stuff. So this round, you're going to notice we see an insta Yoru flash, Neon slide out, right? They pop the Vice flash, they trigger the wall, they get the paranoia out, and Neon is going to try and run his Vice down, can't find any, whatever. That's not the important part. The important part is that Nongshim recognize that once KRX notice like 3 or 4 people pushing down A, they're going to go and pound B, right? So the response in the setup, I guess in preparation. Oh, I didn't even notice a haunt earlier. They also threw a haunt for this push. So KRX saw 4 people A. Right, so in response, a Fade immediately turns back and not even like worrying about these guys and goes straight to help Viper with her Nightfall. Right, this is a great plan coming out of the timeout. Right, they know that KRX are going to try and slam B as fast as they can because they just saw 4 here. The Nightfall goes out to help Viper. Yoru and Fade are both here, ready to flood out. I think that the entire round just kind of lands or like falls onto Ivy hitting this shot. If he kills his Raze, his teammates can flood in, and then the round is over. But because there's now a judge and spawn, it just doesn't work out. Damn, it gets caught out trying to flank, and the round's over. But I do think that this was a good plan and a good use of Yoru's kit. He's not going to be that player anymore that holds a ton of map control for your team. He now, instead, is more like of an initiator duelist where he helps that person get set up with a crazy flash and a clone, and that helps him do so. Now, again, I do think they would have been better off playing Chamber. Again, imagine for a second that this Yoru is no longer a Yoru, but instead a Chamber, right? So the defense's plan is to have Yoru post up on this line for the entire round because there are no Viper smokes, right? There's no fat orb and there's no wall that cuts sight like this. Somebody could literally just hold this entire line for the entire round, right? And Yoru has a gate crash and spawn, so when he gets one, he can TP out. But the issue, though, is that his gate crashes only last 15 seconds. So when his gate crash expires, he kind of feels naked. He just feels like a normal person holding this line. So notice, he backs off to throw his other gate crash, and this is going to go into elbow, right? Again, like I said before, he doesn't need gate crashes that go across the map. He just needs a gate crash to get out. The issue, though, is that Yoru has to physically give up the line that he's holding to throw this gate crash. And when you do that, you run a very big risk.
With all the sky util that they'll fire in the hole. Check this.
Goes hop around towards the site, but he hasn't been. Yep, he's dialed in on it.
So yeah, defense didn't look so great, and neither did offense. And just for you guys to get a better picture of how bad this is in your minds, Lothar tweeted this. I guess he counted. On split, on defense, Francis used 4 clones and 3 flashes. And on attack, he used 5 clones and 4 flashes. So that's not really great. Between 19 rounds, we use 9 clones and 7 flashes. That is really bad, actually. Like, that is horrible. Everybody's complaining how Yoru only has 1 flash. Well, we're not even using it. And then on Haven, I'm gonna break down Haven on my main channel. So be sure to subscribe on my main channel if you want to watch that disaster class. But between 41 rounds overall, we have 21 clones and 13 flashes. It's abysmal. Now, I talked about attack, so I'm going to show you attack. So the offense's plan here is to eventually end B. They have a big fat Viper lurk wall that should allow them to first cross into B main, right? We're using our Omen smokes to create pressure on A, so somebody has to come over and watch ramp because anybody could cross on this Vice. That doesn't really matter. The smoke does attract over to Sky, but the offense in the meantime are using this fat poison orb and smoke, which I covered on a main channel video, to basically get into B site for free. They get into cross in the back site, they take site, but they understand that they want more space. They don't want to just sit back here and die because this wall isn't very good for the post plant, and they want to push into spawn, which is fine. We still have a neon slide, we still have a neon stun, and we have a Yoru flash, and we have an Omen paranoia. We could definitely make some sort of push happen. But watch this push and see if you can recognize what's missing.
But Spike is a little bit further behind. TP forward, we'll get it across in for the plant. Mako holding it alley as there comes the run down, but stun will connect, but Mako, no, never mind, it doesn't. He just straight forward in front of that one, comes away with a second kill. Meanwhile, Francis gonna be caught. So they just go for a high-low, they're not even stacked up, but they're just splitting his attention. Extros good for 1, but needs so much more here. And then taken down low, RB alongside the box. They pull off with the defuse here for a brief little moment, but Extros just has no way of denying this one away. Another pistol into the hands of...
Are you trying to tell me that there wasn't a single good instance to use this Yoru flash? Out of all this, maybe right here, maybe right here, maybe when you try to come back out of spawn, maybe there wasn't a good time to use a Yoru flash in any of this? Really? Yeah, so I don't know what Francis is doing, but his Yoru did not look great. So if you want to see more proof that Yoru can work, watch this video right here, and make sure you subscribe so you can see me cover Haven on my main channel.